Welcome into the GoVols247 Podcast. I'm Patrick Brown. I'm here with Ryan Callahan. We're in the tunnels or concourse of Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're here to break down Tennessee's 37-20 loss to Alabama here tonight. A frustrating night for the Vols, who still have not won in this building since 2003, and it's a similar feeling as it's been under the previous two times Josh Heupel has brought a team here. They a lot of mistakes, wondering what if, a lot of frustration. You could sense that. Very brief press conference with Heupel after the game, and we will talk about all that on this episode. We appreciate you guys watching on YouTube if that's how you're consuming this podcast, or if you're listening to the audio, which we will figure all this out. We're trying to get out of here before the storms hit, back to Birmingham, and try to give you guys some breakdown and something to listen to. So a lot to break down in this game, Ryan. Ultimately, just too many mistakes for Tennessee, I think. Obviously, you've got the turnover before the half. We will talk about that. Your offense gives Alabama 9 points. You have 10 penalties, a bunch of missed tackles, particularly in the second half by a defense that had done okay up to that point, and just a lot of frustration for Tennessee.
Yeah, frustrating across the board. I mean, you could point to a lot of things on defense they've got to do better if they're going to win a game like this on the road. You certainly could point to some things offensively that just catastrophic mistakes that just can't happen if you're going to go on the road and pull off an upset against a team as good as Alabama, because they're not a perfect team, but they're still a very good team, and they've kind of adapted well to what they're doing well, especially on offense, and Tennessee just didn't make enough plays on either side of the ball to come out with the win. So certainly a lot of big, just catastrophic mistakes on offense, or a few in particular, but the defense, still, even on a night where you didn't give up 400 yards of total offense, you allow scoring drives of 91 and 99 yards, especially the 99-yarder. After you back them up to the 1 yard line, a missed opportunity on offense, you back them up, and maybe a chance to get a safety of your own there, maybe a chance to force a punt and get a really good field position to cash in eventually, and you let them immediately get out of that with a 14-yard pass, and it's off to the races from there, basically a 9-play drive at that to go 99 yards. So just too many mistakes on both sides of the ball, too many penalties, too much poor execution across the board. Just in a way, Tennessee showed they're still they're competitive with Alabama, but a game like this shows you how many more mistakes they're making than a team like Alabama. And when you make that many mistakes, it's hard to overcome that and to beat a team of this caliber, especially on the road in a tough environment.
Yeah, it started early, Ryan. You look at the first opening series for Tennessee. They'd scored on their opening drive in all 6 games this season. They get a great first play, 8 yards, second 2, that's great. Mm-hmm. Then you have a false start penalty. I think they call it on Wendell Moy, but might have been another one of those issues where the cadence is wrong or late, and the snap is late. They get backed up, they get the penalty yardage back on 3rd and 2, they get stuffed. And then, great start on defense. You get Bryson Eason knifing in the backfield for a tackle for loss. Yep. You got Alabama in 3rd and 13 and 3rd and 6. That's a huge opportunity to get off the field. Eason gets in the backfield again, but Ty Simpson holds his poise in the end zone and is able to find a wide open tight end over the middle. And Tennessee never recovered on that opening drive. Their second drive on offense is you get inside the 30 with a nice play to Chris Brazzell, and you have it called back by lining up wrong. You cover up your receiver, and that's a mistake that can't happen. And Josh Heupel said after the game that they lost this game in the details. We listened to Deshaun Bishop and say, he said that their 2 losses this year, a lot of what ifs, a lot of self-inflicted wounds was the way that he described it, and that's true. And in that Georgia game, you lose that one because you missed a kick at the end. Just not maybe some bad luck there. You just didn't play well in this one. You just made. We just go down the list of little mistakes, big mistakes. It's hard to come and win a road game like this against a good team like Alabama. That when you make that many mistakes, and Tennessee got it started early and never gave it up. I mean, there were some glimmers of hope. They tie the game at 7. They have momentum before the offensive pass interference penalty and then the safety. They fight back in the second half. You go down, you get a stop right away and go down the field and score with a long touchdown run by Bishop. You're in the game there. You get a turnover, another wonky, weird, empty hand situation. You've got the ball past midfield, a chance to cut it to 1-possession game, and you go backwards, and then you give up a 99-yard drive. So just not a lot went right for Tennessee. And yes, Alabama made a lot of plays, but Tennessee also did a lot of things to themselves that cost them this game.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's some things to question on my end from the approach, the game plan almost. You didn't sack Ty Simpson once in this game, right? I don't think
they got some pressure. Got away.
But that's one of the things I thought Tennessee had to do in this game. Ty Simpson's a pretty elusive quarterback in the pocket. that Bryson Eason play you mentioned, not getting to him there in the end zone, and he gets rid of it, gets an 18-yard gain on 3rd and 13. That was just kind of a sign of things to come because they never could quite close on him. He's a pretty good thrower on the run too, so you've got to get pressure on him. They never were able to do that. It just seemed like one of those nights where Alabama's talent on the offensive line maybe showed up and caused some problems for Tennessee's length. Again, like you said, pressure, but not sacks, and that's a problem against a team of this caliber, obviously. And they've got the players at every position to cause problems for you. So give them credit. But Tennessee's got the speed, got the length on the edge. They just didn't get there. And then on the interior, I didn't see a consistent push throughout the night to get to the quarterback. At least they did a better job against the run in this game. But offensively, I thought Tennessee should have come out running the ball a little more than they did. Even from the first series, you see a couple throws, and it was set them up in 3rd and 2 even after a penalty, so you can't really knock that too much. But at one point early in the 3rd quarter, I look at the stat sheet, and Joey Aguilar's got 25 pass attempts. Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas are averaging almost 10 yards a carry at that point and have 11 touches between them.
Well, Bishop had, I think, 6 carries in the first half, and 4 of them were on right before halftime.
Right. So,
So
it just didn't seem like they came out running enough, and they usually have a really well-scripted opening drive. That didn't at least play out to fruition. They got stopped early. So just some things that sort of showed from the start that it was going to be a tough night for them. And then, of course, you come to the catastrophic mistakes later in the game that ended up being the ones that people are going to point to for a long time. So I don't know, a lot of things I think from a coaching perspective that they've got to look at. Clock management in the first half, again, showed up at the end. That's been a kind of a recurring theme with Josh Heupel a little bit, things you can question in a last-minute drive kind of situation. And then, just obviously the catastrophic mistakes of the safety, Joey Aguilar not getting rid of the ball to a couple open receivers, taking an intentional grounding penalty there that you can't have. And then obviously the sequence at the goal line at the end of the half, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, I think something else you can question. They've got to figure out who they want to have on the offensive line, because they were changing lineups just about every time. And I'm not saying that impacted their play, but is it hard for guys to go? I mean, Wendell Moy was right guard, left guard. He probably maybe had his worst game of the season.
Yeah.
With Jesse Perry's playing right guard and right tackle, he's involved on the safety because he's the one getting driven back. And we're not trying to single anybody out, but and a running back. I mean, there's Deshaun Bishop. He's red hot right now. Yep. You don't need to take him off the field too much to try to play 3 guys. Now, Star Thomas did have a 19-yard run. Peyton Lewis had a nice, came in and gave him some juice early with the run game, sort of got them going a little bit. So, but the way Bishop ran in the second half, you needed more of that earlier. But we're going to get to the 2 big sequences now, and we'll start with the safety. We're gonna make y'all wait before we go deep into the first half. But yeah, you have momentum there. You've gotten 2 straight stops. You've gone down the field and scored. Great 3rd down conversion to Braylon Staley on a big play. You get you had to labor from there. You get the touchdown to Staley. You've got the momentum, right?
Yep.
It was 1st down. You throw a check down to Peyton Lewis. He drops it. 2nd down, you get an 8-yard gain on the screen. Nice play. There's a flag down because of offensive pass interference for blocking downfield. Now that we've seen that called on Tennessee under Josh Heupel, Ryan, where they throw these perimeter screens, and going back and watching it, Braylon Staley's doing his job. So if you're saying Braylon Staley he can't offensive, like he's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yep.
I don't think Chris Brazzell did anything wrong.
Right.
He pretty much stands here and looks this way to get the ball. I don't know if it was the throw or what, but he drifts over the line, past the line of scrimmage. It's on the Alabama sideline.
Yep.
Surely there's somebody in the ear of the official, hey, that he caught it past the line.
Yep.
That's a flag. So instead of having 3rd and 2 near, out past the 25, you're in 2nd and 19 inside your 10. Then you compound that mistake with Joey Aguilar. I haven't seen a good replay, but you said there were a couple guys open that he didn't see.
Yeah, Miles Kitzelman and another guy were both check down options available within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
I would say he certainly held on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
Now, his right tackle did get driven back into his lap. Maybe he holds the ball too long. Maybe he's too late to react. And by the time he tries to get out of it, he trips over Jesse Perry's feet. He's going to the ground and just throws it. I mean, I had some people say it was like Eric Ainge at LSU, and I'm like, come on, that's not the same situation. But it's intentional grounding, obviously. It's a safety.
At that point, you got to throw it past the 10, basically, to get it past the line of scrimmage to avoid grounding, and you got to get outside the pocket.
Yeah,
so
that's he threw it because he's trying to not.
Yeah, but
he's trying to make something happen.
I'm just saying at that point, to avoid intentional grounding is a pretty high bar you got to clear.
You compound that. You have the OPI. You have the sack.
Yeah.
And then you give up a touchdown drive right after that. just compound mistake. And so at that point, you're playing catch up. So what are your kind of your thoughts on that whole sequence where it got away from Tennessee earlier in the second quarter?
Yeah, one thing I noticed, it showed up again later. Aguilar tends to, he has very good accuracy sometimes, but it's inconsistent. And I think it sometimes shows, the inconsistency shows up, not a lot of times, but sometimes on the screens. And he tends to allow the receiver to drift toward the line of scrimmage. He seems to lead them a little bit, which isn't a bad thing in general. Nico Iamaleava did not lead receivers enough and set them up for yards after the catch.
I believe that's a long throw.
Yeah.
He's throwing from the far hash to the far sideline.
Yeah. So that's a harder throw to make than it looks. You know, throwing a lateral throw doesn't look impressive to the average fan, but that's a 20, 30-yard throw a lot of times. And he tends to throw them toward the line of scrimmage. In that case, it costs you with a major penalty because you threw it across the line of scrimmage. And that's where you got to have the blocking set up to even have the luxury of doing that.
They had some good blocking on screens, and those plays were productive.
Right. So if you just keep that behind the line of scrimmage, it's a good play. But because that throw drifts too far forward, it causes you a catastrophic penalty that derails the drive completely. And next thing you know, it's 9-7. Alabama takes that free kick. Was that the one that went out of bounds?
No,
that was the one before that. But they end up taking that, driving straight down the field, and it's 16-7 before you can touch the ball again. And then they take it back down the field again, have a chance. Obviously, that's where you have the chance to score right before halftime. So just a series of mistakes there that cost them dearly in the second quarter. And yeah, that I just go back to the safety there, because in a setting like this, when you have a veteran quarterback who's made 31 starts or whatever in his career at this point, Joey Aguilar's got to make a better decision in that moment. I think it's got to be on him. You can't put it all on the quarterback every single time, but you got to know, you got awareness of where you are on the field, of what the situation is. It's second down. You don't have to look to gain it all back in one play. It looked to me like he was looking too far down the field, trying to get all those yards back in one play instead of just taking what's there, which he's often very good at. In that case, just didn't go for the check down quickly enough and didn't see the pass rush kind of developing quickly, and next thing you know, it's up on him, and it's a catastrophic play.
Yeah, there were a few situations tonight where I thought they actually did a good job of getting back, lost yardage.
Yep.
There was on the second drive, they got a sack on the first play. They were able to overcome second 19. Now we're going to get to the catastrophic part of the end of the first half. We don't need to rehash maybe every little detail because everybody saw it. I don't have any issue with the clock management. I know that's a thing to bash Josh Heupel about.
We talked about it in the press box. They're rushing to the line on the third down play.
So on second, they take a shot, 37 seconds left. They take a shot to Brazel in the end zone, don't make the play. You hit a run to Deshaun Bishop for 9 yards.
Yeah.
Clock's running. They go fast there to get the first down.
Right.
Then you call timeout.
Yeah.
I don't have any issue with that because you were at the 2?
Yeah.
With 13 seconds left. You have a timeout in case you need it.
Yeah. You could question not calling the timeout before 3rd and 1 because they lost a critical 10 seconds or so there.
Yeah,
but like you said, it gave them a favorable look.
They probably had a look that they thought, hey, let's just run it here and get the first down. Let's get up on the line quick.
Right.
They did. Again, I don't have an issue with that because you're at the 2.
Yeah.
You got 13 seconds left and a timeout.
Yep.
You should have several plays in the end zone.
Right.
If you need them. Here's my questions. I'll think on first down, I think running it there is. I don't know if that's the right call.
I'm not burning my one timeout there if I get stopped.
And if you do run it there, I would have had the heavy package out.
Yes.
Because it had converted twice on 4th and 1 or 4th and short at that point.
Yep.
The formation with Carson Gentle in the backfield. They've got Nathan Robinson as a tight end. Again, it had converted 2 4th downs, right? They handed it to Bishop once early on that drive, and I think earlier in the first half, they gave it to Kitzelman on fullback dive when he scored at Georgia on last season. The issue with I don't like running it there in hindsight because you burned your timeout. Now you have to throw. I think I might have wanted if you run that play that ended the half on first down.
You've got at least the option of running it there, so that the defense might bite on the play fake.
Right. And so on the second down play, my biggest issue is the formation. On an obvious passing situation, you don't have Chris Brazel, Mike Matthews, or Braylon Staley on the field. That's my biggest complaint.
And how many times have we seen Tennessee, the Georgia game? They run the 2-point conversion. They run out there a pick play on the perimeter. They got receivers out there.
Do that.
Run a 2-point conversion play with your receivers who are your best playmakers. Get somebody open that way making it easier to defend by having tight ends and only 3 guys running routes.
Right, you had two defensive linemen on the field and no receivers for an obvious pass play. The only devil's advocate I could say is that getting in that formation on a play where everyone knows you're going to pass it maybe just a little bit of doubt.
Right.
That Alabama's like, hey, they're coming out in a run formation.
It would be such
are they really going to run it?
It would be such a gutsy play to run it there.
Right, but it had worked.
Yeah.
So again, that's my thing. And then the overarching judgment from me on the play, Ryan, is that the throw was bad.
The throw was bad.
The throw was bad. That throw has either got to go, even if you miss it, you've got to miss it wide. You can't miss it behind. I mean, it was 2 yards behind Kitzelman and an easy pick. Now the corner on that side of the field, he stayed home. He did a good job. But like, if Aguilar's got to throw that one he's got to throw it hard toward the pylon and not kind of lob it out there. And that's what. Now they had 2 guys on the route. I've seen some people say, "Oh, it was just a 1-person route." Not true. They had Van Dorselaer in the back of the end zone.
Yep.
He didn't get open either. Kitzelman was more open. So again, it's a better throw there, and you score. It looks like a great call. It's a bad throw. It gets picked. Changes the game.
And that's where I want to go back to Aguilar again. Not quite a precision pass in a big spot there, and it really cost them. I didn't think the decision to throw it there. I think, again, veteran quarterback, I think you got to know, and this is where, like, I don't know what's being said. Alabama had called timeout before that play. So you had a chance to regroup, and Josh Heupel admitted in his post-game press conference that play call was made after the timeout. So that suggests that there was another play call made, and then they changed
But they had come out in that same...
They come out in the same set, but maybe they changed the play call, whatever it was. So either way, you had a second to discuss it and think about it, and one of the things you could have done during that timeout is, hey, Joey, there's only a couple guys in the end zone in this play, and we've only got 9 seconds. If it's not there right away, throw it out of the back of the end zone and let's take another shot. Like, don't waste a lot of time on it, because he's done that before in late game situation. At Mississippi State, took too much time on a key play. So throw it quickly. If it's not there, just throw it away and take another shot. If the play's not there, it's not there. He did the one thing you can't do in that play, in that situation, which is force it a little bit. And he had to make a perfect throw, to your point, and it wasn't anywhere close to perfect. Just 2 yards behind him probably. So just not a good throw. And I didn't think a great decision, but I just think you got to take, kind of like Nico Iamaleava at the end of the Arkansas game last year. You got to take a second and remind him in the headset last year, hey, you got to throw it to the end zone, even if it's even if you assume the player knows that. Remind him it's college. Joey Aguilar in that situation, remind him, throw the ball away if it's not there, and maybe you didn't, and he throws a pick 6 and the game's over pretty much, or not over, but you were gonna have a hard time climbing out of that hole.
Yeah, and then the second half, you go from 16 to 7. It could have been 16-14 at worst, maybe 16-10. It's 23-7.
Yeah. Let's
give Tennessee some credit, because Ryan, you and I have both seen. I did see some mentions on our board, the checkerboard, about the 2003 Georgia game.
I brought that up immediately. It's the first thing
Sean
that came to mind.
Jones running down the sideline as the Georgia sideline's having a party right before half, and that Tennessee team laid down. That one got
41-14.
Yeah, it was a beatdown. I was there. High school me was not happy. But this game, Tennessee comes out. They get a 3-and-out right away.
Yep.
They go right down the field, get a long touchdown to Deshaun Bishop. They're right back in the game. Would have liked a 2-point conversion there to make it a 1-score game.
Right.
And that turned out to be important. Should they have gone for 2 there, because Alabama scores to make it 30-13, chasing the game there. Anyways, you get back in the game, and then you get another stop on the play. So let's give Tennessee credit for coming out and trying to make a game of it. But again, you do 3 things right. It's like 3 steps forward and then 4 steps back.
Yeah.
You get the empty hand play where Ty Simpson's going to throw and it hits Caden Proctor's shoulder pad.
Yep.
Josh Josephs and Ty Simpson, I think, were the only 2 players in the entire stadium that knew it was a fumble or thought it was a fumble. I mean, Jaden Perlotti hits it on the bounce like he's returning serve in a pickleball game.
Yep.
But Joseph tracks it down, beats Ty Simpson to it. You get a Deshaun Bishop run, you're past midfield, you got a chance to go down. What was it, 23-13 at that point? You can cut it to a 1-score game.
Yep.
You could have this place nervous. This place was on the moon going into halftime. And so, but then they have the sequence where Sam Pendleton snaps it when Joey Aguilar is making signals.
Step forward to the line,
the line of scrimmage, and you lose a bunch of yards. You're lucky to get the ball back there. And even on 3rd and long, you have Mike Matthews coming open in zone, and the ball goes right through his hands. He's got to make that play. It's a tough play, but he's got to make it. And again, you pin Alabama deep there. Jackson Ross pinned Alabama deep twice tonight. He did his job, and the defense immediately gives up a first down.
Yep.
That drive from Tennessee defense was ridiculous.
It was.
They missed I don't know how many tackles.
It's a 9-play, 99-yard drive.
Well, the play that I have the biggest issue with is Alabama is trying to call a double pass. Well, there's 2 issues. On 3rd and 2, they do the thing where the linebackers come up to the line and mug up like they're blitzing. They bail, but they bail like 10 yards downfield. It's 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
The tight end just loops right around. It's the easiest throw ever. I'm like, why are you dropping that far?
Right.
In that coverage, again, I don't know the call, but it would seem to me like in that coverage, you're trying to take away the short pass because you're trying to make Ty Simpson think, okay, they're coming. I got to get this out quickly.
Yep.
And so if you bail right there, you take that route away, he holds the ball, now your pass rush can get there. The other one, though, that was just patently absurd was they're trying to throw a double pass back to Ty Simpson, right? Jeremy Bernard catches the ball at the 26. He's got 2 defenders right there. In Tennessee, he ended up at the Tennessee 44.
Yep.
It was an 18-yard run, but he ran like 30 yards because you missed like 5 or 6 tackles on that play.
Yep.
And it just kept happening. There was another play where from our angle, they're throwing another screen. It looks like it was going to be picked. That turns into a 17-yard gain. Andre Turntime missed a tackle, and fittingly, that drive ended by Ty Redmond just throwing a shoulder into a guy on the touchdown. So that's where, and Josh Heupel was really miffed about not taking more advantage of the turnover there and getting back in the game at that point.
Yeah, Tennessee just in general, there's a theme here. They're not playing good complementary football. When they get an opportunity that's favorable for the offense to cash in, they can't. When the offense,
special team sets up the defense, can't get a stop.
Can't get a stop. So they'll do one thing well on one side of the ball, the other side of the ball kind of messes it up. They just can't get everything going at the same time, and that's a tough way to live in a place like this against a good Alabama team. So, yeah, they haven't strung together enough good plays. Just some bad moments there defensively. Interesting scouting report I thought Alabama had. They clearly saw something that had them running laterally a lot. They were handing off to the receivers on some end arounds.
I think that's a team that doesn't trust its run game, trying to do extension of the run game type stuff.
Could be that, but I wonder if they noticed some outside runs where Tennessee had trouble getting outside and thought there's something to exploit there.
You take the defensive line out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting wrinkle to the game plan that was effective for Alabama early. They got some nice plays on that opening scoring drive with that, and they kind of went to it several times. So yes, but Tennessee just did some better things, stopped the run pretty well. Alabama's not running well against really anybody besides the non-conference teams, but they didn't get beat that way, and they didn't let Ty Simpson throw for 1,000,000 yards, but they just couldn't get stops when they really needed them. And then obviously the offensive mistakes kind of just compounding everything. And it's a 17-point game at the end of the day. They had a chance to punch it in for a late touchdown that could have made it a 10-point game. So
they get it down. They get it down to 10, and then they have another long. Alabama goes on another long drive where you've got a 3rd down play. You don't get off the field. There were probably other ones, but I'm thinking of the situation close to the red zone. You get the 3rd down stop, but on 4th down, Alabama maybe didn't trust their defense. Maybe they're just trying to kill the game right there. They go for it on 4th down. Again, it seemed like from my view through the binoculars was Arion Carter had a chance to make a play on a scrambling Ty Simpson short of the sticks, and he just kind of loses leverage and lets him get outside. And if you get a stop there, it's a 10-point game.
Yeah.
I've always said if you're in a 2-possession game, you're in the game.
Yeah.
Because you're one play away from being one play away. And so that was a key stretch too, because Tennessee, after going down 30-13, they go down the field. They get a touchdown with Deshaun Bishop. Had some nice runs on that drive early in the 4th quarter. So, this team is, again, we talked about during the week, this team is relentless. They will keep coming and they will keep playing hard. They're just flawed. They just make a lot of mistakes. And our final point here, I know it's windy and you guys are probably listen to the wind, you're over it. We're trying to get out of here. I appreciate you guys bearing with us as we kind of do it on the fly.
Deal with the elements here.
Right, yeah. We act like we have it so hard, but we don't. But yeah, just big picture, Tennessee's 5-2 now. It's basically understood that if you're a 10-2 SEC team, you got a pretty good shot of getting in the college football playoffs. So I'm not a math major there, but Ryan, Tennessee's got to win its next 5 games, and you're going to have Oklahoma and Vanderbilt at home.
Yeah. But
those teams one today have one loss. Vanderbilt's playing really well. You got to go win at Florida. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
Kind of got like it goes here. But they got to be Kentucky next week, and Kentucky is bad, but Kentucky played Ole Miss really tough in Lexington, and they played Texas really tough in Lexington. So if you think that's going to be an easy game, I don't know that I would agree. This team is just they do a lot of things. Deshaun Bishop had a great point after the game. He said, we do a lot of things that make this game harder for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that does not give me a lot of hope that Tennessee will run the table the rest of the way in the playoff. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but here in the aftermath of what happened here, not a lot of optimism from this side of the coin here.
Well, one thing about this, and I think maybe this is why we're seeing Tennessee make some of these mistakes. they're not getting the big plays in the passing game as consistently as they were earlier in the season, and I think it's making life harder for this offense that is kind of mistake prone when you make them go 10, 12 plays. So they've got to figure out, can they play closer to mistake-free football and be a precise, reliable enough team to win some tough games in the SEC. They're kind of right where I thought they would be 7 games in. They lost to Georgia, they lost to Alabama. I had them going 9-3 because I assumed they would lose at Florida. This team, there's not a game on the schedule left that Tennessee is incapable of winning. They're probably going to be favored in most, if not all of them, the rest of the way. Quite possibly all 5 the rest of the way if they were setting the lines for those today. So they've just got to go to work on becoming a more efficient team on both sides of the ball. And if they can fine-tune some things, there's no reason they can't be right back in that college football playoff mix and have a real chance to make it again in late November. They might be playing for a playoff berth against Vanderbilt the final week of the season. We'll see about that, but that game looking bigger and bigger by the week if Tennessee can take care of business. But yeah, they know the stakes now. They've kind of burned their two freebies. Now you got to go win all the rest. There's no margin for error, and a tough one starting next week at Kentucky. It won't be easy at least, and then you got another big one coming up at home against Oklahoma after that.
Yeah, we will have plenty of coverage throughout the Sunday here, dissecting this loss, going through what Tennessee needs to do better, some of the reactions. So plenty of coverage coming from here tomorrow on the site. We appreciate you guys listening or watching, however you consume this podcast. We will be back and talk to you guys here in a few days. And until then, for Ryan Callahan, I'm Patrick Brown. We'll talk to you guys soon.